After President Vladimir Putin mobilized ordinary Russians to fight in Ukraine in September, large protests broke out. Families mourned conscripts who died on the front lines, and hundreds of thousands of Russian men fled the country. But these aren't the images that Russians are seeing on state media. National television showed the president firing a rifle and inspecting reservists who looked all set to fight. And citizens say on air they are fully prepared for combat. As Putin faces a backlash against the mobilization, here's how the state propaganda machine has stepped in to try to reassure the population. When the mobilization was announced, state TV reported that men were flocking to recruitment centers out of patriotism, and it showed smiling families sending their loved ones to war. The Russian army said it was drafting ordinary citizens to help hold the front lines in Ukraine, and anchors said the population responded with a wave of support. Those reports came as recruitment centers were being targeted by a series of attacks, and polls showed growing anxiety among Russians. According to an independent pollster, the number of Russians who think that the campaign in Ukraine is going as planned dropped to 53% in September, from 73% in May. Days after announcing the mobilization, Putin admitted that the way the draft was managed raised many questions. But in October, the Kremlin started to face criticism as new recruits died on the front lines just days after being summoned. Some families say they were poorly trained. New recruits also complained about equipment shortages, saying they had to buy things such as flashlights or sleeping bags themselves.
Разобрали все, что есть вообще в наличии. Обувь вообще все разобрали, утепленные костюмы, шапки, амуницию девчонок разобрали.
So news reports start to regularly cover those themes: mobilized men going through battle drills, dressed in mint-condition uniforms, and equipped with all the gear needed for combat: helmets, bulletproof vests, and sleeping bags.
Ни за что не переживайте. У нас экипируют полностью.
And the president himself went on camera and gave a word of encouragement to the new draftees. It's hard to tell how effective the state propaganda is. According to border authorities in Europe and other countries, more than 300,000 Russians have left the territory since late September. Many say they fled to avoid being sent to war. Still, many Russians express strong support for the invasion of Ukraine and are not averse to the mobilization.
Позвали, я поехал. А что мне не ехать-то? Я не трус, я не боюсь. Что мне? Как серой мышью сидеть где-то там, прятаться, все вот этого. Ну нафиг не.
The Kremlin said that even though there were problems with the mobilization, the situation shouldn't be generalized. According to Putin, reservists can be sent to the front lines after 10 to 25 days of training. In late October, handout footage from the Russian government showed Russia's Minister of Defense telling Putin that the mobilization was successfully concluding, with some 300,000 men drafted. However, many Russians say they are skeptical. The president didn't sign an official decree to end the draft, saying it wasn't necessary. This has fueled concerns that the mobilization could resume at any moment as Russia continues to suffer setbacks